I think, who knows, they may get Gabriel Jesus in that final run-in when it's important. They're scoring by committee, but they've learned that they have to. I think they understand that they don't have that one special player that scores 20, 25, 26 goals. Manchester City do. They're still second, right? I mean, Liverpool have some great goal scorers who finally have proven that they can score, but, it's not that easy. So I just think that argument has been dispelled in that dressing room a long time ago. If you know you have that problem, if you will, and it's a problem of not having a consistent and experienced goal scorer, then you do it by committee. And they have done it in a tremendous way with everybody up, pitching in, coming in and doing that. I mean, just so many stories right now that I don't think that is an issue, because the identity of this team is one that, if nothing else, Arsenal Football Club play within their philosophy and they create massive amount of chances. They do. So it's that much easier. If they weren't creating chances, then I think your point would have been valid. I think the fact that they continue to do that, I don't buy it. I think there's enough players there that can score.
So let's talk about a few of the games that are coming off. There's the Europa League games against Sporting. Then they've got Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home, and Leeds at home. If they can win all of those games, it's going to be hard for anyone, even the biggest outers, to bet against them, surely.
Yeah, it's just going to, the question with that, especially towards the end of the season, it's not how many you win, it's when you win them. And that's why you kind of look now at Manchester City as the lone challenger, and you just have to match what they do. I think that's the question, and you have to be at your best. As we've seen, they've been successful in terms of rotating in Europa League. They won everything there so far. It's not going to be easy. I think it's a prize that they'll keep an eye on, because why not win a trophy if you can? But I think if they continue their rotation and continue to win, that will just build the momentum. The rest of it, I'm not looking even as far as that. Every game is going to present itself with issues and with problems that they have to solve, but one game at a time. That's how we're looking at this right now. I did look, for the run-in for Manchester City and Arsenal, and then I say to myself, for every big game that you have to win, there's always that Leeds, there's always that Nottingham Forest. I think, with the number of teams that are fighting for relegation right now, I think you can look from 11th spot down. Every game is going to be like facing Manchester City for Arsenal, and vice versa.
Yeah, so it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes it's those teams that you least expect that cause the stumble. It forces
you to be at your best. That's not necessarily a bet, right? Because there isn't a game. I mean, managers don't do that, but players may sometimes look at it and says, well, that's an easier run-in. But I think the fact that this, of the situation right now with Manchester City, every game is like playing against Manchester City. So I think that's a bonus, because the concentration levels have to be at their highest.
I'm just going to borrow a question that I actually saw Dan Thomas ask on ESPN FC, and it's just to throw a little bit of devil's advocate, because obviously the positives are there for all of us to see with Arsenal. Any concerns for you that they did go 2-0 down so quickly and that they did concede those 2 goals?
Well, sure, but so what? It's not how you start, it's how to end. I mean, that goal 9 seconds in, I mean, how do you ever prepare for that? You can't possibly prepare for that. I'm sure all the right things have been said ahead of this game, as all coaches do in the beginning of the game, just before halftime and right after, and sometimes it happens. It's the reaction, it's the belief. Because I'm telling you, I look at Arsenal, and the biggest thing I get out of it is that, as young as you make them out to be, for all the arguments against Arsenal, and they're fair, I think, they know that they are good. They know they're good enough to win this title. Because I think when you start, you always have questions. What were the questions for us, Kay? Always say, well, they haven't played against Manchester City yet. Well, they did play them, and they lost to them twice. Once in the league, they'll have to play them again. And you go on and on and on. And you look at this game, one that on paper, they should have won easily in terms of talent. They were challenged. There were questions asked. I've talked about the resiliency and things that went against them, because, let's not forget, I mean, there are at least 2, maybe 3 penalty shouts that were legitimate they didn't get. The heads don't go down at that team. That tells me that this team, even though young, is mature enough to be in the title race until the end. Are they going to win it? tough one, toss-up, because we all know how good Manchester City are and can still be, because they're not firing on all cylinders.
Let's talk about Thomas Partey then and what he offers this team, because when you actually look at the stats and when it comes to win ratio, when he's there, it makes a big difference to this Arsenal team.
Well, as I've said, I mean, it was an up and down game. Fell asleep just a little bit on the goal and then scored himself. But I think it's just the ability to cover ground. I mean, he's truly a player that can sit if asked, but can cover ground from, can tackle, can win the ball, can contribute. So I think the issue when he first came over from Atleti was just his health and adjusting to the league, and that took a while. But now, I mean, what can you say? He is in the center of the pitch, for me, the most important player that Arsenal right now have. And I still think that we haven't seen the best of him. The consistency still isn't there, but that comes in time. It's almost as if Mikel Arteta has given him carte blanche to be the leader of this team. It feels to me that he's a true leader, but I don't know, and I don't know his personality, to be honest. So I'm not around him in the dressing room. I kind of read stuff just like everybody else. But I just wonder if he has to recognize and take the responsibility on himself and say, I am the leader. I'm the Casemiro of this team. I'm the Luka Modric of this team. And, it takes time to grow into that position just a little bit, because he doesn't look to me like one that picks itself. I don't think he's been in a position just yet. Even at Atleti, he was still, young enough to be growing in that team. Totally different environment. Just think about that. Switching from the mindset of Diego Simeone and the way Atleti plays to the mindset of Mikel Arteta and the way this Arsenal team plays now, and they play historically.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.